There are moments in life that are not random at all. They don't happen by chance. They arrive with a strange precision, as if something unseen is guiding you to a very specific crossroads, a place where consciousness brushes up against the unconscious. This moment is one of those moments. Right now you are standing at a threshold, a quiet, almost invisible line where your life is preparing to change direction. There is a certain stillness here. A gray, muted pause where it feels like you've been trying for far too long, pushing, adjusting, fixing, striving. Yet nothing seems to move. Everything feels suspended. But what you are experiencing is not a slowdown. It is not failure. It is the first signal that something deeper has begun to shift beneath the surface. The unconscious is stirring. It is preparing to lift something essential inside you into the light. Carl Jung once suggested that before a person can truly step into their authentic path, they must pass through what he called the night of the soul. This is the place where the shadow rises, where the layers you've kept hidden begin to surface. It's where the old ego starts to tremble, not because you are weak, but because the structure you've been living from is no longer strong enough to carry you forward. And precisely at the moment when it feels like everything is falling apart, something vital is quietly taking shape. A new order, a new self. If you stay with me until the end, you may begin to see what is forming beneath the surface of your life right now. And it may completely change the way you understand yourself and your current existence. Number 1, the shadow phase. The phase you are moving through is not a personal collapse. The heaviness, the exhaustion, the numbness, the emptiness you might label as decline are actually the first signs of a profound internal shift. Jung referred to this as the moment when the shadow begins to emerge. And the shadow does not arrive with drama or spectacle. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It arrives quietly, as ambiguity, as fatigue you can't explain, as a strange loss of direction. Suddenly, the path you were so sure about feels uncertain. You look at your life as if through fogged glass. You know you must keep going, but you no longer know where you're headed. You think you've lost motivation, but what's really happening is that you're losing an old identity, and that always feels like collapse. Think about how hard you've tried to do everything right. You studied, you worked, you followed advice, you fixed yourself, you made plans and stuck to them. You did what you were told would lead to progress. And yet, nothing seems to shift. Life feels stubbornly still, as if it refuses to move no matter how much effort you apply. This is not because you are broken. This is one of the clearest signs that the shadow has entered the picture. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not evil in a moral sense. It is simply everything you have never allowed yourself to fully see. The fear of rejection, the anger you swallowed, the desires you restrained, the insecurity you hid, the talents you downplayed, the longings you denied because they didn't fit the version of yourself you were trying to maintain. The shadow rises when you've relied on willpower for too long, when you've been strong for too many years without rest, when you've become an ideal version of yourself, but in doing so, lost touch with something real. The shadow doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to return the forgotten fragments of your being. But before it gives anything back, it does one very specific thing. It shuts down the old system. And that shutdown feels exactly like stagnation. You feel like you're walking across a vast, flat landscape with no sense of progress. You no longer feel growth. You no longer feel inspired. The spark you once had seems gone. Even when you try harder, push more, nothing responds. This is the moment many people panic and tell themselves, "Something is wrong with me, I'm finished, I have nothing left." Jung spoke about patients who described this phase as moving through life in a fog. They acted but felt no connection to what they were doing. They said it felt like standing inside a vortex with no direction. Jung responded to this with a powerful insight. He said the heaviness you are experiencing is not darkness consuming you. It is light preparing to shape you. The shadow appears when you are standing at the threshold of psychological maturity. And here is the paradox. The very things that hurt the most often contain exactly what you need. Someone who spent their life trying to be perfect may suddenly collapse into deep fatigue. They think they are weak, but in truth, their shadow holds a longing for unconditional love that has never been acknowledged. Someone who has always been strong may fall into a strange emptiness, unable to find motivation. But that emptiness is a reminder of something essential. The need to be vulnerable, to lean on others, to be real. If you've ever experienced a moment where you felt drained, stuck, or unlike your usual self, that was not a mistake. That was the shadow asking to be seen. Jung famously said, "You do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In other words, the parts of yourself you avoid are not obstacles to your growth. They are the doorway. Before there is gold, there is descent. Before rebirth, there is dissolution. The darkness you are in now is not an ending. It is a waiting room, a space where the old structure melts so a new one can form. It is the phase where you no longer recognize yourself because you are shedding who you used to be. If you feel lost, unmotivated, or unsure of who you are not failing. You are close, very close. The shadow only appears when someone is ready to move into a higher stage of development. No real growth happens without facing the parts of yourself you once rejected or feared. Number 2, the final moment before dawn. As the shadow rises, you may notice the experience deepen. It becomes quieter, more demanding. Jung referred to this as the dark night of the soul, the final moment before true dawn. If the shadow phase is when rejected parts return, the dark night is when the entire old structure loses energy so that something new can take its place. This is no longer just heaviness. It is a kind of emptiness that is difficult to describe. Jung called this the liminal stage, the in-between state where you are no longer who you were but not yet who you are becoming. And this space is often the most frightening. You may feel like you are standing in a long hallway with no doors. Everything outside looks the same, but inside, every definition you once used to understand yourself is dissolving. Many people describe this stage with the same sentence. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." That sentence is not a failure. It is a signal. It is the final moment before dawn, when the unconscious is restructuring you so deeply that the conscious mind cannot keep up. It's like a system update. During the process, everything slows down. Things freeze. You think something is broken, but in reality, something stronger is being installed. This is where we'll pause for now. In the next part, we'll go deeper into this dark night, the emergence of the true self, and the moment when everything quietly begins to change. This in-between space, the dark night of the soul, is where many people become afraid and turn back. Not because they lack strength, but because nothing in modern life prepares us for this kind of inner silence. We are taught to measure progress through movement, motivation, results. But here, all of that disappears. And yet this is the most meaningful work the psyche ever does. Jung was very clear about this stage. He said the dark night is not a punishment and not a sign that you've chosen the wrong path. It is the moment when the soul withdraws its energy from old values. The things that once defined you no longer function. Confidence built on achievements feels hollow. Dreams fueled by the old ego fade. Goals that once excited you suddenly feel distant or even meaningless. This is why people often say, "I don't know why I don't care anymore." Or, "I should be grateful, but I feel nothing." This is not ingratitude. It is not laziness. It is the natural dissolution of an identity that has completed its task. Many people misinterpret this stage as regression. They think they are moving backward. But in Jung's framework, this is actually the farthest point of your evolution so far. The ego is stepping aside to make room for something deeper. The self, the true organizing center of the psyche. And this transition always creates a sense of emptiness. It can feel as though your soul is holding its breath. What makes this phase especially uncomfortable is the contradiction inside it. You go through your days feeling unlike yourself. You begin to doubt things you never questioned before. Why can't I feel joy? Why don't I recognize myself anymore? Why does my life suddenly feel wrong? And this is exactly where the unconscious wants you to arrive. A place where nothing from the old ego can anchor you. A place where you are forced to ask a question that changes everything. Who am I if I am no longer the things I used to cling to? Only when that question is honestly asked can the self begin to speak. The dark night of the soul is one of the oldest archetypes of transformation. Every myth, every sacred story, every hero's journey contains this phase. The hero is cast into darkness. The map is lost. Every familiar reference point disappears. Not because the hero is weak, but because the psyche unfolds in this pattern, and you are no exception. If life feels paused right now, if everything seems suspended without explanation, if you sense that something unnamed is waiting inside you, understand this clearly. Dawn is near. This is not wishful thinking. It is psychological law within Jung's framework. The darkest point of the night always comes just before the expansion of consciousness. You are not being left behind. You are standing in the final moment before dawn. And if you can stay with yourself here with a little more patience, a little more trust, a little more willingness to remain present without answers, you will step into a different reality. When the light arrives, you will understand why it required so much silence, so much stillness, so many nights to prepare you. Number 3, the emergence of the self. And then often when you least expect it, something shifts. Not dramatically, not with fireworks or certainty, but quietly. Like a small internal click, barely noticeable yet powerful enough to change the entire room you are standing in. This is what Jungian psychology recognizes as the turning point of individuation. The moment when the self begins to enter consciousness. And what's fascinating is that this moment never arrives when you feel ready. It arrives when your inner structure has matured enough to receive it. For a long time before this, everything inside you feels fragmented. Old wounds here, fear there, effort without reward, questions with no answers. You look at your life and see only disorder. But then in one unexpected instant, these scattered pieces begin to organize themselves. Things you couldn't understand for years suddenly make sense. Questions you carried for a lifetime receive answers so simple you wonder how you missed them. Meaning steps out of chaos. Jung referred to this as the intervention of the self, the organizing principle of the psyche. When the self enters awareness, understanding no longer requires force. You don't struggle to interpret your life. You simply see it. Your problems don't vanish, but they lose their grip on you. You are no longer dragged by them. You stand in relationship to them. Many people describe this as a moment of deep recognition, not excitement, not euphoria, but clarity. A quiet inner sentence arises. Ah, now I see. This click moment is not created by effort. It is created by ripeness. You cannot force it. You can only live honestly enough for it to arrive. Like a drop of water growing heavier on a leaf until it falls. Not because it was pushed, but because it was full. And when it happens, you realize something profound. You were never lost. You were being guided through experiences your earlier consciousness could not yet understand. The failures you blamed yourself for were necessary turns. The delays you resented were preparation. From this moment on, life does not look the same. Not because the world changed, but because the one perceiving it did. The click moment is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of seeing with new eyes. Number 4, why there is always silence before a breakthrough. So why does life become so quiet before something meaningful changes? Why do external signals fade? Why does enthusiasm disappear? Why does everything slow to a near stop? Jung saw this not as coincidence, but as a law of the psyche. Before every major leap, psychic energy withdraws inward, and that withdrawal creates the silence that feels so unsettling. The psyche cannot dismantle the old structure and build the new one at the same time. It must first pull energy away from what no longer serves. This is similar to how a tree stops growing upward to send nourishment into its roots. The roots make no noise, they show no visible progress, yet they determine whether the tree will survive future storms. The silence before a breakthrough is when the roots of your soul are growing deeper. Another reason lies in how psychic energy or libido moves. In Jungian psychology, libido is life force, not merely desire. When a deep transformation is approaching, libido stops flowing outward through action, ambition, and goals. Instead, it turns inward to restructure your core. From the outside, this looks like apathy or stagnation. From the inside, it is intense concentration. Like an archer pulling the bowstring back, the moment of greatest tension is also the quietest. Silence also creates the conditions necessary for the unconscious to communicate. If your life is too noisy, too busy, too stimulated, you cannot hear the subtle messages rising from deeper layers. That is why insights often arrive when you are doing nothing at all. Washing dishes, walking, showering, staring at the sky. The ego quiets down, the self speaks. There is also fear involved. The ego senses it is about to lose control, so it creates hesitation and doubt. It tells you that you are lost, that you are making a mistake, not to harm you, but to protect its position. Silence becomes the negotiation space between ego and self, and this is where we will pause again. In the next part, we will move into the threshold of individuation, the final test of the unconscious, and the appearance of synchronicity. The signs that tell you unmistakably that you are living in alignment with your true path. When the silence has done its work, when the inner structure has been quietly reorganized, you arrive at a point that feels subtle yet unmistakable. You begin to sense that something fundamental has shifted. This is where you stand at the threshold of individuation. Number 5, the threshold of individuation. Individuation in Jung's understanding is not self-improvement. It is not becoming a better version of the same identity. It is the movement from imitation to originality, from living according to expectations to living from essence. It is the process of becoming who you truly are, not by adding something new, but by removing everything that never belonged to you. Jung once said that a person becomes whole, integrated, and alive when they are in harmony with themselves. That harmony does not come from perfection. It comes from alignment. And at this threshold, something important happens. You begin to see the stories that shaped you, stories from family, from culture, from childhood, from survival. Stories you once believed were absolute truth. At this stage, you recognize them as roles. The strong one, the responsible one, the one who must not fail, the one who must hold everything together. And the moment you see a role clearly, it loses its power over you. You are no longer the character trapped inside the script. You become the one who can step back and choose. Many people experience this as a quiet release, not rebellion, not anger, just a deep exhale. A realization that says, I don't have to live like this anymore. That is individuation beginning to take root. Another sign you are at this threshold is that you start to hear two voices inside you more clearly. The voice of the ego and the voice of the self. The ego seeks safety, approval, familiarity. The self seeks truth, expansion, and the places where your soul naturally belongs. For the first time, you can feel the tension between them, and more importantly, you are no longer unconsciously obeying the ego. You see it, and seeing is already transformation. At this stage, comparison begins to fall away. You no longer measure yourself against others. Not from superiority, not from inferiority, but from clarity. You recognize that each person is walking a different orbit. No one can walk yours for you, and you cannot walk theirs. This brings a deep, unfamiliar peace. You stop twisting yourself to fit into lives that are not yours. You begin to care only about alignment with your own inner truth. Before, you lived like a star reflecting borrowed light. Individuation is the moment you begin to shine from within. The light is quieter, but it is real. Jung described individuation as a spiral, not a straight line. You return to yourself again and again, each time at a deeper level. And at this point in the spiral, the self becomes the guiding center. You stop asking, "What must I do to be accepted?" and begin asking, "How must I live so I do not betray my soul?" That question changes everything. Number 6, the final test of the unconscious. As you stand in this new alignment, the journey brings you to one last threshold. The final test. This is the moment when the unconscious wants to know whether you are truly ready to live as yourself. The unconscious does not punish. It reveals. It presents situations that expose the last remaining misalignments, and the final test rarely looks dramatic. It often arrives disguised as an ordinary moment, an unexpected rejection that stirs old wounds, a casual conversation that triggers a reaction you thought you had outgrown, an opportunity so aligned with your essence that fear suddenly whispers, "You're not worthy." These moments are not setbacks, they are mirrors. The unconscious does not give exams with right or wrong answers. It gives mirror tests. It shows you the final fragment of the old self that could sabotage what you are about to receive if left unseen. If you live to please others, the test may ask you to abandon something essential to yourself. If you depended on validation, the test may arrive when no one notices your effort. If you chose safety over truth, the test may place you in a situation where only honesty opens the door forward. In these moments, it may feel like you are stepping backward. But in truth, the unconscious is asking a single question. Will you return to who you were? Or will you stand as who you have become? This is what Jung called integration. The lesson is no longer intellectual, it becomes instinctive, a reflex of the soul. Neuroscience supports this. The brain prefers familiar patterns, even painful ones, because they feel predictable. So just before you enter a new reality, the mind tries to pull you back. The final test appears exactly here, not to stop you, but to confirm you are ready. The unconscious never designs this test for you to fail. It appears to confirm that you can hold the wholeness the self is ready to give you. It does not ask if you are perfect. It asks if you are honest. Not if you are fearless, but if you are willing to live from your essence. When you answer yes through action, not words, the door opens. Number 7, synchronicity. And when that door opens, something remarkable begins to happen. Synchronicity appears. Jung described synchronicity as meaningful coincidence. Moments where the inner world and outer world align so precisely that they cannot be dismissed as random. When you live in deeper alignment, synchronicity becomes the language of the unconscious. You recognize it instantly. You think of someone and they reach out. You question a direction and an opportunity appears that mirrors your inner inquiry. You carry a silent concern for months and encounter a sentence, a book, a conversation that answers it directly. These are not signs sent from outside. They are reflections of inner alignment. Synchronicity becomes visible only after real inner change has occurred. When you live from your essence, life rearranges itself to meet you there. Inner and outer reality begin to move in rhythm. Synchronicity always arrives at the right time. Not when you desperately seek confirmation, but when you no longer need it. The moment you trust your path, life responds with a quiet affirmation. Keep going. It does not promise ease. It promises coherence. It reminds you that you are not abandoned, that your journey has an inner order. And as you reach the end of this journey, something becomes clear. Every period of darkness, every silence, every unsettling pause was not pulling you away from yourself, it was guiding you back. From here on, life no longer feels like something you must control by force. It becomes a current you can step into with trust and presence. And perhaps, as you listen to these words, something inside you recognizes itself. You were never lost. You were moving in rhythm with the architecture of the psyche. And no matter how long or quiet this journey becomes, it is carrying you exactly where you need to be. All that remains is your willingness to keep listening, to keep stepping forward, even when you cannot yet see the full path. Because what you are seeking is also seeking you. And when the two finally meet, you will understand that every challenge was an invitation, every silence a preparation, and every moment a step toward becoming whole.